Welcome to Reddit Aliens. What is a dark secret that you have not safe for work? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. My best friend from childhood came over to my college dorm to hang out one night. He bought coke and pills from other guys living on my hall for a party he was going to, and honestly, I was impressed with him for being so well versed in the buying of drugs and charismatic with my dorm mates. Before he left, he told me not to tell his mother what he was doing, but to tell her he loved her if he died, and I thought something was wrong. But I let him go because we had plans for the next day, and I figured he had just developed a dark sense of humor in the time since we'd last seen each other. In retrospect, he'd shown all of the signals, but I refused to see them, so I let him drive away. He didn't make it. He crashed his car many hours later that night with no seatbelt, probably high. His mother asked me what happened. I didn't tell her anything because I wanted her to think it was an innocent accident. I didn't want her to know what he got into. I still keeping his secret. My dad killed himself and called all his kids the night before. He made it look like an accident because he thought it was the only way to take care of my mother, set her up with his life insurance. Wrote a note saying mow the lawn, then just ran lawnmowers in the garage with the doors closed till he died of gas poisoning. Neighbor ran over and helped my mom when she got home from work, thankfully, as he was the local sheriff. So when all the police arrived, he took care of them, talking, and said the door was up. So it was duped an accident, and my mom got the money my dad intended her to get. After coming to peace with it, I'd just like to urge anyone with that mindset, don't kill yourself. Money comes and goes. Amen. I had a friend create a fake high school diploma for me that I used to get a job teaching English in a foreign country. Then the company that hired me created a fake BA in English for me. That was then used for me to get my residence permit. Yep. Years ago, I got a summer job at a grocery store. I was a teenager from a poor family, just trying to get a job so that we could afford food. My mom couldn't afford to feed us in the summer without the school lunches, but she made slightly too much to qualify for food stamps. If you've ever been poor, you know how it goes. The manager was a complete asswife who fired me 2 weeks in because, and I quote, "I just don't like your personality." We had never actually spoken until that point. I cried because my mom was counting on me to be able to pay for the groceries that week, and I told him that. He told me I was being dramatic. The store had those barcodes they would stick on things to mark them down if they were expired. I realized that I still had the rolls of printed up stickers in my pocket when I got home because I had been marking things down that day. I copied the stickers off onto sticky paper and stole probably a few $1,000s of groceries that summer. I technically did pay for the groceries because I was checking them out at the self-checkout and paying for them, but I was getting salmon fillets and racks of ribs for $2, big veggie trays for $1, expensive cheese for 99 cents, nice, etc. I was careful not to be too greedy and not to try and buy a cart full of expensive shit at a time. I would do several smaller transactions at self-checkout and spread it out over about a dozen stores. It was a big, shitty, national corporate chain. I paid always in cash. I never got caught. I told my mom that I got an academic scholarship, and that's where I got the money for the groceries. I don't feel bad about it, and the statute of limitations is expired anyway. I'm not mad. When I was 16, I went over to a buddy's place and thought it would be funny to sneak inside and scare him. I knew their back porch door was usually unlocked, so I let myself in and quietly went upstairs. His sister's room was on the way to his, and as I passed it, I saw them together. They were making out, and he was fingering her. Oh God. So I GTFO of there and decided I'd never mention it. They're both still friends of mine and weirdly close, despite having their own partners in life. It still makes me uncomfortable. I had a former coworker who was a total see you next Tuesday to me. She straight up bullied me at work. Twice I walked into her room while she was actually shit-talking me by name. A few months after quitting that job, I looked up a revenge prank site and had a box of cow shit mailed to her at my former workplace. According to other people still working there, she threw an ugly crying tantrum the day she opened the package and was coddled by upper management. Sweet, sweet vengeance. I didn't tell my live-in partner about what I had done. He would have been livid and scared for the feds to show. 2 more fun-to-know edits. 1. I was so anxious about getting in trouble that I used a gift card purchased at a store using cash and a throwaway email account to purchase the prank. 2. I had a note attached that read, "Thanks for being such a nice person." When I was a young teenage boy, 13 or 14, 32-ish years ago, I was in a program called Explorers. It's part of the Boy Scouts, I believe. The troop I was in worked alongside the local sheriff's department. We were essentially young police officers in training. We'd go to the shooting range, ride along with officers, work special events with officers, etc. We had uniforms and were allowed to carry handcuffs and a radio. Every year there was a weekend event that was kind of like boot camp. It was held at a National Guard base and kids from all over the state came. There were a few hundred kids ranging in age from about 13 to 17. We stayed in a barrack-style arrangement with a large open room with single beds, probably about 30 kids in a barracks. At the time, I was a small kid that had not yet started puberty. I got picked on a lot due to my size, which I believe was around 4'8" at the time. One day, while the whole barracks was on a break, I don't know how it started, but at some point I find myself having to defend myself from a group of older kids effing with me. They're trying to capture me. We're making a lot of noise, and pretty soon, it seems like everyone in the room is looking in my direction. More kids join in, others just watch. Soon enough, they have me. What seems to me like the oldest kid has taken charge of the situation. They take me to one of the beds and have me face down. I remember trying to bite, claw, and kick free. I can't get free because handcuffs. I don't remember all of the details, but I remember them pulling my pants down and trying to penetrate me with a broomstick. God, to this day, I don't believe they were successful. I don't remember anyone coming to my aid, but maybe that's why it stopped. Maybe I fought enough they got bored. I don't know. The next thing I know, everyone is getting ready for the next event, and we're outside, lined up in formation, ready to soldier on. I've never told anyone about this. Not one of the many police officers there, not my parents, not my wife. Just the fine people of Reddit. I don't think about it often, and I don't feel like it's had an overbearing effect on my life, but as I type this, there are a lot of emotions coming with it. Thanks for reading. Hope it went well. I was molested by a close family friend when I was a kid. My parents just never talked about it and let it at that. It really messed me up when I went through my teenage years. One day when I could drive, I drove over to where he lived, but they had moved. I guess I wanted to confront him myself. That his wife stayed with him knowing what happened, and his daughter probably not knowing and hoping I can crack a few ribs while I was there. Summer camp. I was 13 or 14 years old. 7 days, no poop. In the middle of the 8th night, I wake up because I'm exploding. I don't reach the bathroom on time, so I pooped almost everywhere while running. I reached the bathroom, washed, and then went back to my tent to sleep. The next day, everyone thought an animal like a bear or a deer had entered the camp and shit everywhere. No one ever found out that the bear was me. My maternal grandmother, who recently died, murdered at least one of her husbands for his money, and possibly more, because she had several who died under mysterious circumstances. She was never convicted, but the dude died from rare earth metal poisoning that developed from years of eating tainted food. She cooked every single one of his meals during that period of time. Notably, she did not get poisoned herself. Black Widow. My mom had a friend who had 2 kids of her own, both girls. Sometimes we'd go over and visit, and normally I got the impression that my mom's friend was a pretty shit person. Her kids were a little effed up too, but normally in a more of a I don't want to behave the way you want me to way than a I'm doing this to be a dick way, you know? One time, we went to visit, and I was like maybe 5 or 6 years old. They were misbehaving pretty bad, being like general trolls. Eventually, they calmed down, and I was playing some normal-ass kids game when they thought it'd be funny to run around with their clothes off. Obviously, I did not participate and was a bit mortified, but also maybe felt a little something I'd never had before. Anyways, eventually the mom caught up and found them both hiding in the room with me. We knew they'd be punished. They were misbehaving pretty damn bad. Their mom then dragged the oldest naked into the bathroom. Locked outside, I heard her beat the F out of the child. Heard the whole thing, the yelling, the crying, and the meaty effing slap landing. The kid walked out of there with bruises and a black eye and went to put on clothes. It's one of the earliest memories I still have. Never even occurred to me a parent could possibly do that to their own child. In 2009, me and my friend were smoking near the canal where a car stopped on the other side and 2 old guys threw something wrapped in a massive package into the Grand Union Canal in London. Then they sped off, and so we ran away. We were 17 and 18 at the time. I planned an elaborate 2+ year suicide plan that let everyone down gently in the best way possible. I moved to another state, basically told everyone to F off and just held down the fort until people quit calling. After that, I'd give it about 6 months, do the deed, and then take my life. The objective would be a good riddance more than a "he will be missed" response. The problem? My mother. She drove to me monthly and called me daily. She always knew something was up because she'd always end our conversations with, "Remember, I need you around and will always love you." And it shook me to my core. Later on, my best friend started spam calling me all the damn time. Annoyed, I finally answered. It went to the tune of, "Finally, you asshole, let's catch up." And he would do that weekly. Then, oh boy, my mom brought me a cat. She put me in therapy and with a psychiatrist. He suggested we get an emotional support animal. That cat saved my life more than once. One night, I couldn't take it. I started writing the final letters to everyone. I apologized to every person that got written about in treatment, but it was the way it had to be. Then, my mom's letter. I cried so damn hard. When I started writing about "take good care of the cat," I bawled uncontrollably. I exhausted myself and passed out at my desk. I woke up to cat taps and chirps because it was time for his treats and food. He still lives with me, and I love him more than anything. I'm a grown-ass man that will drop anything to pet a cat. To me, they're little angels. Nobody knows of this except my wife, mother, and therapist, and it's my darkest memory secret. Okay, so back when I was like 18, someone posted a suicide note on my Facebook page. My parents rushed back home and I explained that someone probably just decided to post an effed up prank on my account since I had forgotten to log out and it was an internet cafe. The thing is, while the suicide note prank really did happen, I did not do that at all. I was actually going to commit suicide that day. This is because at the time, I've dropped out of 2 prestigious colleges because I was having severe depression and just never attended my classes, and I was doing the same thing in my current one at the time. I never thought about leaving a note or anything since I had no shit left to say. I was just going to go hang myself. My parents arrived before I could even start preparing, so that prank actually inadvertently saved my life. Good. I have a very large family. People I still don't know, even I'm 44 now. Back in high school in the early 90s, I had a normal teen years, met a beautiful girl on the swim team. We started dating. After a couple months of going out, we started getting more serious. Then the deed happened. Our relationship was maybe a year in when I got her pregnant. She was pregnant with twins, 2 beautiful girls. On the 8th month of the pregnancy, we found out that her mother and my mother were actually first cousins. So that made us second cousins. We found out nearly 2 years after starting dating. As you can expect, the entire family went DEFCON 1 and were divided over this for many years to come. F it. By this time, she and I were deeply in love. We got married. We had a somewhat happy marriage. 12 years later, we divorced as we started to grow apart. Usually happens when married too young. Anyway, we went our separate ways. I started my business, bought her a house so that she can live in peace with our daughters, and I bought my house nearby. We divorced, but we remained close friends for the sake of our daughters. Now they're adults and love me and their mom equally since we worked together to raise them even after the divorce. Good. Not exactly dark, but I'm pretty sure my son isn't biologically mine. There was a lot of doubt about the date of conception and multiple people his mother cheated on me with, but after months of being promised he was mine, I foolishly just accepted it, or told myself to anyway. Cut to him being 3 months old. She decides she's scared of him and can't look after him. He's now 7 years old and never sees his mom. She's vanished and doesn't even check in with him. He's my son, no matter what anyone could tell me. As far as I'm concerned at this point though, I've raised him and loved him unconditionally for the past 7 years and will continue to do for the rest of his life. And if I'm being honest, I'm also really scared to get a DNA test more than anything for fear that if I found out he isn't mine, I wouldn't love him or look at him the same way. I don't think I would ever do that personally, but you just never know how a highly emotional situation is going to make you react or feel sometimes. You are his father.